in a second, but I do think this position group has now become one of the most interesting and important probably as it relates to the 2026 season. And that obviously dovetails with the Jamal Adams news. And I mean, we could all probably relate to just how brutal it was seeing that. I mean, I was in the press box in MetLife Stadium. I can't lie. Like, I didn't see it happen in real time. Jamal Adams, all I noticed was the blue medical tent was up, and then you started to see some really important players go in there. Josh Metellus, Byron Murphy Jr. walked over to the medical tent. Brian Flores did. There was one point where Josh Metellus came out of the medical tent, put his head in his hands, and I didn't see Jamal Adams on the sideline. So my mind is just like alarm bells of, man, can you imagine this guy who seems to have carved out a role already, who has come, so far from the torn quad that he had already suffered years ago. Just brutal to get that news. Garret, I'll start with you. I mean, I just walk me through the arc in your mind of probably the excitement building of what this guy could do in this Brian Flores defense, and then seeing this happen to him. Just walk me through the arc of that in your mind.
Yeah, definitely. So in the early parts of the game, I'm excited watching, Flores defense cook. I'm watching Jamal Adams have a big TFL, and I'm thinking, boys, we may have something here. I'm excited about the idea of, maybe we have a one-year guy in Jamal. He's not like 34, so could a one-year guy turn into you to a two-year guy? You do all the mental like loops of what could we really have here, especially in a Flores defense. And then I see your tweet of Jamal Adams down, doesn't look good, and obviously with the preseason, there's not as much national coverage as there's going to be in Week 1 Packers Vikings. And I see Alec Lewis tweet, something to the effect of Jamal Adams down, not looking good, and then it goes from that. I'm like, wait. What does this tweet say? And then KOC basically gives the ultimate, or he signals that, we wish him the best, and it's a tough one. And it's just like, are you kidding me, man? Like, we just went from a player that could be a player that has contributed snaps this year, has a clear role or will have a clear role, to an Alec Lewis tweet to KOC done, and then a couple of days later, torn quad done. It was just a roller coaster, unfortunately. Not in the good way. It was the highest of highs of we might have something, the anticipation to what could have been.
Yeah, Coller, I mean, I imagine you rode a similar wave, and then you were obviously present on Monday when Kevin O'Connell did confirm that it was the other torn quad, which, I mean, conceptualizing the mental anguish of overcoming the last one and then being back in that spot is just, from a human perspective, it's just brutal. But then, I mean, naturally my mind goes to, okay, what does losing him mean for the depth of this safety room? And I'll be curious to get your, opinion on this, but like, I had started to think, okay, Jamal Adams fits near the box, and he's probably like a slot defender, blitzer type, which is in a similar way where Josh Metellus has really excelled. But the problem that I've thought is, like, if you have Josh Metellus in that role for this 2026 defense, then who is playing deep safety? And is it Theo Jackson, Jay Ward? So my initial thought was like, okay, maybe Jamal can play near the box, which allows Josh Metellus to communicate deep. Now you pull that piece of the Jenga tower out, and you're back to kind of the drawing board. How did you work your way through, and how are you right now working your way through what you think about the safety room?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest question is now, what does it really look like? Because as much as we've been impressed with Jacob Thomas, is that someone who's going to be part of a rotation? Is Jacoby Thomas going to come back? But can he possibly be ready to be part of some sort of rotation? I think that Jay Ward has been excellent in this training camp. I think he was very good when he played at the end of last year. And you could tell from the way that Brian Flores has talked about him. I mean, when Brian Flores gets excited about a player, it usually means something. And the way that he's talked about Jay Ward, who has been playing in that big nickel type of position, we also saw the physicality of the blitz where he crushes Jackson Dart. You don't see too many guys with that hit during preseason football, but that's been who Jay Ward has been since he got here. It's just that he has been buried behind Harrison Smith, Josh Metellus, Cam Bynum was here. So now he's really getting an opportunity. And with Theo Jackson, there's a lot to prove from Theo, because last year they gave him that job. They said, all right, you go be that deep safety. You take over for Cam Bynum. Bynum. It's probably why they decided not to pay $15 million a year for Cam Bynum. And it did not live up to the standard that Bynum set. That was his first time starting. Also, teams were just running against them all the time, which is not really his forte, the downhill tackling. So what I thought about Jamal Adams was, oh, okay, this is going to carve out a role to where, let's say it's second down and 3. You bring in Jamal Adams, right? As somebody who could be down in the box, as you mentioned, as sort of a hybrid linebacker type safety where he can read and react if it's a screen or a quick pass. He can blitz potentially if it's a pass, or he could just go play a run stopping role. I think that if you did have him playing as a deep safety too much, that he would start to get a little bit exposed because he has gone through injuries and he wasn't really in that role early in his career a whole heck of a lot. But now I think there are questions about each guy who are out there. Like, can Jackson sort of take the next step? Can Jay Ward handle playing 750 plus snaps? And can Josh Metellus hold down that role as the strong safety full time? He did get a taste of that last year, played 5 or 6 games where there was over 30 snaps of him playing as a more deep safety. So it's not something he's never, ever done. But also, this is life without Harrison Smith. Is you don't really know with all of these guys how it's going to work out.
Yeah, I want to balloon this conversation out a little bit where, I mean, like I it's interesting when you study the league, and both of you guys do at an intense level. And if you're watching the Vikings Collective on YouTube, you probably are as well. But like, it is hard for defenses year over year in the NFL to be sticky in terms of maintaining the level of production. And one of the most impressive parts for me of watching what Brian Flores has done in the 3 years here is that regardless of the personnel, they have been able to put a really good product on the field. And so you almost, at least I've gotten to the place where naturally you almost believe that they are going to do that in 2026. But you balance that out with how much you have to overcome potential personnel with scheme. And so, Garret, I guess I'll throw it to you, is like, how I in general, with where the safety room is, Jay Ward, Theo Jackson, Josh Metellus, Jacob Thomas, Jacoby Thomas, like how worrying is that for you, knowing just the communication aspect that position has in this defense, and just knowing how much this defense is probably going to have to perform for this team to reach its ceiling?
It's huge. I mean, I'd be lying if I said it's not a concern. And one of the reasons that I think it's a concern is you'll see tweets and people talking about how Flores is such a madman and how nobody knows what's coming on any given play. But the biggest reason that cannot be understated with the Vikings defense under Brian Flores and why all of it works is because communication is essential. None of it happens without everybody being on the same page. All 11 guys have to be on the exact same page. And that especially matters when you are a safety, because if you're if you're a receiver and you miss a route, whatever, maybe it's an overthrown ball, maybe it's a ball at a guy's feet, whatever. If you're a safety and you miss the communication, that's 6 points on the board every time, especially at the NFL level. So I'd be lying with the Vikings' current safety room that I thought was already a concern heading into the year. That this, I mean, not that Jamal Adams is going to be like this make or break, all pro type player at deep safety this year, but I'd be lying if I said that I am extremely confident with this specific room heading into the season. Then you look at Jacoby and Jacob Thomas. Both of those guys are rookies, and obviously it's fun to project the absolute best for each player, especially a good story in UDFA Jacob Thomas. But I would heavily emphasize these are rookies. Please have reasonable expectations, and there's probably going to be not just one, but multiple welcome to the NFL moments.
And then Coller, for me, like, I've gone down the road today because I'm sitting here waiting for joint practices tomorrow in my mind.